Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
We're back for another episode of our D3 Coach and Coordinators of the Week, presented by Hanson Ratings. And joining me to discuss our Coaches of the Week is Logan Hanson. Logan, another great week of D3 football. Definitely some notable performances, as we'll mention a little bit later here in the podcast. But we kick things off with our Offensive Coordinator of the Week.
This week's Offensive Coordinator of the Week kind of highlights what I was trying to do with my coaching grades, which was highlight a lot of different types of schools and different types of performances. I didn't want to just focus on, top 25 teams every week. I wanted to find teams that were really improving over the course of a year. And nobody's improved more on offense this year than Calvin University, who is in their first year of playing football, played only their 3rd game last week, and they've already had 2 games of at least 50 points. Nearly 80% of their roster is freshmen or redshirt freshmen. They are led by a couple grad transfers at quarterback and running back, but they are definitely spreading the ball around to a lot of different players. They won 66-12 last week against Anderson, and they did it on over 250 yards passing and 210 yards rushing. They scored a lot of different ways. They got some short fields and always capitalized in the red zone, but they also drove the length of the field and converted over 50% of their 3rd and 4th down conversion attempts. So for a fresh program, first year playing football, they are off to a red hot start, and it's really impressive to watch.
Let's hear from their offensive coordinator, Ben Dixon at Calvin University. Joining me now is our Week 3 Offensive Coordinator of the Week from Calvin, their offensive coordinator, Ben Dixon. Ben, it's great to have you here on the podcast, and congratulations on being named our Offensive Coordinator of the Week.
Hey, Keith. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Pretty cool honor for us in our first year program to get named with this. But, I do want to recognize our staff and, especially Coach Fig at the top and all of our administration. They just give us great support and great vision. And then really, to me, this is a coaching staff and team award. We have great players that execute the plan, and then we have great coaches. We have Coach Austin Gardy, coaches offensive line, Andrew Vasquez with our running backs, Coach Ike Pasta with our wideouts, Ryan Patterson with our tight ends, and then we have an elite student assistant that signals and does a lot of self-scout for us named Jaden Burgess, and man, they're just making my job a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, it's always great the more help you can get and guys who are engaged in it and doing their job. You mentioned your student coach and the signaling, and I know you guys are an up-tempo team. It's part of what you do. And we're going to get into practicing up-tempo. I think it's always great to see how people do this. I mean, I don't think I've talked to a coach who talks about up-tempo where I don't pick something up. So hopefully we have some great things that we could share with our listeners here. So talk to us a little bit, I guess, first about your philosophy of practice and what you're aiming to get out of practice as you look over the course of a game week.
Right. So when we look over the course of a game week, for us, practice, it starts with the fundamentals, right? We spend a lot of time working those fundamentals. I'm a big believer in almost the hedgehog principle, to where you want to be world-class at something. A hedgehog's world-class at digging holes. We want to be world-class at what we do, right? So we spend time each week just honing in on our craft, scheduling out those fundamentals, and then so that we can translate those skills into our scheme. When we build scheme, we build it around what skills do we already possess and how much can we put in without creating new skills. And then we really work to practice that as quickly and efficiently and as fast as possible throughout the week.
The quick and the efficient part, I think, is what I'd like to dig into here. And again, finding those little tips that you can implement even in season to make yourself better in practice. is always good, especially as you get later into the season. And I think your players are looking for efficiency. Your coaching staff certainly is. It's been a long grind already, but, getting into that later part of the season, looking for those tips. So what kinds of things do you do that help you be more efficient? And I know we always borrow things and adapt it to ourselves. So I'm sure you pick some great things up along the way.
For sure. I'm definitely a thief when it comes to especially practice plans. One thing that we start with is we make sure that we have a very detailed plan for walkthrough pre-practice. We will sometimes cut meetings short and add walkthrough time just because we're such a big believers in kinesthetic learning around here. So once we get through that walkthrough, my mind transitions to team. How can we be most efficient team as an up-tempo, no-huddle offense? And some things that we've done that have really helped us out is we have a continuous film throughout all of our team sessions, right? We rarely ever just spot the ball in the same spot. We move the field. We have the grass and the turf space to be able to separate offense and defensive fields. And so we continuously film, and then we time between each snap how long it takes us, right, to snap the next snap. And then within that, it comes, well, in the game week, you have scout teams. How do you get the correct look? And so my offensive staff does a great job of building systems and putting them in place to where now our scout team is on wristbands. And so they build wristbands throughout the week, and they just look at the defense and tell them what wristband number they're on. They look down, and they get set as quickly as possible. And it's worked really well for us to where we're getting over 2 plays a minute right now in our team sessions, which has really helped us train our tempo, but also allows us to do it with great execution against the look that we're going to get.
So looking at getting those 2 plays a minute, how many reps are you going to go with your ones before another group takes reps?
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in making sure that especially our 2 deep gets coached like everyone's a starter. And so we usually go on about 5 play rotations. And so we'll go 5 with the 1s, reset, go 5 with the 2s, and then we'll go 3 with the 3s, and then we'll go back up to the top. And with as many reps as we're able to get in a team setting, everyone is still able to get what they need. And obviously, as we get down to the 3s, we pare it down just a little bit, a little less game plan specific, and a little more just of our base offense, because that's what they'd be running if they were in. And so we're able to get 25 plays in about 10, 11 minutes. And then, we split that up into approximately thirds for all those groups.
So looking at those reps between the 1 and the 2s, are those guys repeating reps? Are they working a different part of the game plan? How are you doing that with your script?
Yeah, great question. We repeat the reps here. Because of the tempo type of offense, we really segment each team session into a specific part of the game plan so that we can go, our 1s run the plays and our 2s may run the same plays just in a different order, just to mix it up just a little bit for both the scout team defense and for our own players. So they're not just memorizing what the quarterback in front of them did, but they'll essentially get the same plays, and then we'll repeat again. And that makes it to where I don't want to go into a game with anybody saying, I didn't get that rep this week. That really allows me to make sure that everyone got the rep, got to go in each direction that we wanted to run it that week, and makes us be efficient, yet also detailed with the reps at the same time.
You mentioned the scout team. So how are you handling those guys, right? I mean, are you switching out scout teams in each segment too? How are you getting the best look possible?
Yep. So during pre-practice walkthrough, 2 of our younger coaches go and practice with the scout team. And so while we're walking through our plays for the day, they're also walking through the same plays just against formations to make sure that they know how to line up, the type of techniques that are used by the team we're playing that week. And the best part is we just have great kids. The kids on the scout team, they want to do a great job. And our defensive staff is outstanding. They give us the ball in short fields all the time, which is great. But they've taught those kids that they just want to get better. And so they watch the scout team film with them on Thursdays and correct them on some things and help us just share the importance of that. And so we just have great kids that buy into the importance of it. Everyone has a role in the team, and that's something that Coach Fig has really preached to these guys, and they've just really bought it hook, line, and sinker.
When you're looking at, you're running your plays up tempo, are you moving the ball down the field? Are there chains? Are you working it within the context of, I know we still might get specific on, this is going to be a 3rd down period or whatever it might be, but I guess how do you break those down? And I guess eventually over the course of the week, make sure that you are working within the context of what it's going to look like on game day.
Yep. What we found to work best is we do move the ball in most of our team periods. Obviously in red zone, we don't move the ball. We spot it in the specific spots that we're looking to run those specific plays against those specific looks. But when we're working our base downs, our first, second downs, we are moving the ball down the field. And what we found the best way to do that to make sure we get every rep hit the way we need it to is we have one of our student assistant coaches. He wears an orange vest in practice or an official's vest, and he moves the ball 10 to 15 yards down the field every single play to the hash that I pre-scripted. And then how we get the true game field is we do some good on good every single day to where it's true move the ball, period. It's not a ton of reps. It may just be up to 8 reps, but where it's true move the ball, working on getting the ball back to the umpire, which is a big emphasis for us, and finding the ball and getting set and running the next play.
When you look at being an up-tempo team, there's a lot of ways to practice this. And, I've seen some clinics that get really detailed. Like an example would be Glenn Ellerby at Tennessee. Twice now in the clinics went into how they train their offensive line to move down the field to get to the ball, where they're looking, how they're moving, all those kinds of things. I thought it was really interesting, the detail put into it. So I guess in that regard, what little things do you have to offer that, might help coaches get more out of their up-tempo procedures on game day, but also in practice?
Yeah, for sure. What I've seen carried across the most across all levels of football is get the ball back to the umpire. We don't want side judges to have to throw it back in. We're quicker running the ball back into the umpire. I know some people teach give it to that 8th official back behind if the gain is 0 or less, right? But what we found is in high school sometimes, and even sometimes small college, you don't always have that extra official. And so we just said, get the ball back to the umpire. We teach our outside receivers to see where the side official is spotting the ball, where his foot is, get lined up there, and then look into the center and make sure you're still onside. We teach our center to find the ball as quick as possible, and we teach our tackles find the line of scrimmage based off the side judges and your center. And that helps us get set as quickly as possible. And then the quarterback just gets lined up behind the center. With our skill guys, we teach all slot receivers and tight ends to get back inside the hashes as quickly as possible. And we tell our outside receivers to get in between the hashes and the numbers before getting fully set and lined up, so that if we do want to flip them over to the other side or make formation adjustments or go unbalanced or things like that, then it's not as far for them to run, and thus saving time.
Coach, I love those tips. I think especially thinking about, again, we all don't have that extra official, but getting it to the umpire, that understanding. And I love the little things you do with how your guys get lined up, because I think the last thing you want is some kind of a pre-snap penalty, right? Things that are within your control. And I think giving them those details keeps it within your control. I was interested in one more thing this year. Obviously brought some new things to college football and the use of technology, and that certainly differs around the country through different conferences and in the different levels. But, sideline replay is a big part of this, right? How do you guys utilize that? What have you found to be some of the most efficient things and best things to do when you get you guys to the sideline?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we're kind of learning as we go with it being new to college football. However, what we found to work best is I give my iPad to one of our quarterbacks who's a really bright young kid and has a really good eye for it. And so he will watch after every play on the iPad. And when I come off the field, he'll have some things that he thought for me. And then I can say, hey, can you pull up that play action we called? What happened? And he'll pull it up, have it ready loaded for me, and I'll look at it. And then I can go over and watch it with the quarterbacks. Our offensive line coach does the same thing with his position group. He has an offensive lineman that doesn't play a whole lot, have the iPad, because the kid's really smart and he knows what we're looking for. And he will go through and they're starting to get figured out, like what plays we'll want to look at when we're done with the series, and we'll come off, we'll look at those and then quickly discuss and move on to the next play. What we found is you can't rely on the technology, right? It's a good addition to, what we found is the best coaches still are able to see the game live and be able to make those adjustments quickly. The iPad is more for verifying what we see. And it's great for the box coaches to be sorting through. So now we don't have to chart every formation by hand. We can just go back to the iPad and look and see how they're lining up, which allows our box coaches to be able to use their eyes during the game just a little bit easier.
I love that idea of utilizing some of those players like that. I haven't heard of that one before, but certainly, you think of efficiency when by the time you hit that bench, you know exactly what you're going to look at instead of searching through those guys are helping you. I think it's a great role for them to play too. Obviously, they're adding a lot to the team than maybe they were before the technology came about.
For sure. And everyone has those guys that want to be coaches someday, and they thrive in that role. And now they get to see it before they get the chance to coach on their own someday.
Coach, I love it. Thank you for sharing some of those tips today and ideas and giving us a peek at your program. We'd love to have you back in the off season and dig into some more things. But again, congratulations to you and your offensive staff on being named the D3 Offensive Coordinator of the Week, presented by Hanson Ratings.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Our next category is our Defensive Coordinator of the Week. And as you noted to me in your email over the weekend, a lot of notable performances on defense. But tell us about our Defensive Coordinator of the Week.
Yeah, last week I had mentioned how there were a lot of teams who had outstanding offensive performances. And this week I feel like there were a lot of great defensive performances. We had Mary Hardin Baylor forcing 8 turnovers against Whitewater. We had La Crosse with playing the number 2 team in Division II and holding them to only 20 points over the course of the game. We also had last week's Offensive Coordinator of the Week from Salisbury. Their defense graded out as one of the top defenses this week. But this week's Defensive Coordinator of the Week goes to Matt Tschetter at Wartburg College, who won a 10-6 game against Central. And the only touchdown scored by Wartburg in that game was a defensive score. They forced 3 turnovers in the first quarter, including a fumble recovery for a touchdown. They held Central to their lowest offensive output in over 20 years. And they did that on Central only converting 20% of third downs. And on 2 short fields in the second half, Wartburg held Central to 0 points. Central's an outstanding offense. They always have some great schemes cooked up for Wartburg, and Wartburg did an outstanding job keeping them out of the end zone in the second half to secure that win.
Let's hear from their defensive coordinator, Matt Tschetter. He's been here on the podcast before, so it'd be good to hear from him again. We're here with our D3 Defensive Coordinator of the Week for Week 3, Matt Tschetter, who's been on our podcast before. Matt, it's great to have you back here.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot. And I really appreciate that and appreciate the honor. And obviously had a lot of guys, on our team really step up this week. Obviously the defensive effort was great overall, just the mindset that we had going into the week. And the guys just did a really good job of responding and kind of picking up their effort and had a great showing on Saturday. So yeah, thanks, Keith.
Yeah, absolutely. The collective effort is the big thing. We want to make sure we always recognize the guys who helped you in this effort, the rest of your coaching staff and your head coach. So let's give those guys a mention here, and you go ahead and run down the list of the guys who helped you in this.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, our head coach, Chris Winter has done an awesome job, and it's great having him with the experience that he's had. Obviously, he was our defensive coordinator for a number of years, and just, everything that he helps put into it. He actually coaches our defensive backs in the position group there. So he's certainly heavily involved in helping the defensive effort for sure. So just being able to lean on him and rely on him as much as possible and is a great resource for sure. So he's awesome. He had a great message for our team this last week, and the guys really responded to it, and obviously, like I said, it's just awesome working for him. So, but yeah, then Ethan Lape, our defensive line coach, first year being our defensive line coach, we actually moved him. He was our running backs coach for a couple of years, and ended up making the transition to the defensive line anyway. So he's got some line play in his background, and has done an excellent job of just picking that up real fast, and does a great job of coaching those guys as well. And then Alex Pollock, he's first year on our staff as well. So he'd been a long time high school coach and had been a college coach in his past as well, and brings a lot of knowledge with him and a lot of experience with him, and does an excellent job and he helps me out with the linebackers, and has a good eye for us up in the booth, and has plenty of insight to help give us some really good information that we can really rely on. So then we have a student coach, Jason Splitt. I mean, he's incredible. Just the work that he puts in behind the scenes. He's just a jack of all trades, really. I mean, in terms of whether we need some scout cards drawn, whether we need film broken down, whether we need some equipment. I mean, he just does it all. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of workload that he's able to handle, balancing his academics and helping us as much as he can in the office throughout the day and out of practice. And he's also a baseball player here too. So he's got a lot going on and just does an awesome job for us. So the defensive staff meshes really well together, and really proud of everything that we've put in and the effort that's been put in from all those guys.
So you guys had the challenge of facing Central College's offense, a tempo offense, and we're going to dig into just some ideas that could help coaches as they prepare for some of the tempo teams on their schedule. So what was the approach this week, Coach?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they're certainly an incredibly challenging offense in a lot of different ways, whether that be obviously, like you mentioned, tempo, which we'll talk more about, kind of how we handled that throughout the week, but also just, throwing a lot of different formations at you. So they go fast, a lot of different formations, one of those offenses that, they'll just give you one personnel group and they can pretty much line up in, pretty much any formation that you can think of in that one personnel group. So there's, plenty of challenges to that for sure. And then mixing in, motions and shifts and all that kind of stuff. So they throw a lot at you in a short amount of time. So certainly that was the biggest challenge, for us throughout the week, is just getting our guys to play fast, just to not overthink anything, but also understanding that the conditioning standpoint, right? Hey, if they're going to go fast, they're trying to run a lot of plays. Hey, we got to make sure that we really push ourselves here, throughout the week and get prepared and ready to handle that workload in a short amount of time in every series. So that was kind of one challenge for that. And then the other part of that is just the communication aspect of things too. So, when teams are going fast and they're lining up in a lot of different formations and they're motioning and shifting and all that kind of stuff, we want everybody to be on the same page. It's really easy to, like I said, have, maybe, a extravagant check system and all that kind of stuff. And that's nice to have if you have time to click it off. But we knew that, that probably wasn't going to be the case. So like I said, just being, vocal, communicating and getting everybody, like I said, lined up and in the right call. And even if we're all wrong, then we're all right, as long as we're playing the same call. So Central, like I said, does a really good job of kind of giving you those challenges, presenting all that to you. And so, like I said, that was kind of the challenge for the week. So what we did, for us in terms of kind of how we organize, some of the practice anyways, like I said, the big emphasis was tempo. Like that was a big thing and really needed everybody to be pulling in the same direction. So not just defensively, but our scout team really needed to step to the plates and be able to have some tempo, be able to, see the card, get lined up quickly, all that kind of stuff, and then execute what is on the card at a high level too. So they did an excellent job, this week getting us prepared for that. So like I said, every day of the week, we kind of had a true focus on, okay, here, this is going to be helping us for the tempo aspect of it. So on Tuesday, what we emphasized there is we had a scout period where we went with a double huddle system. So that double huddle system, we had two scout offenses at the same time, more or less going. One offense was on the left hash, one offense was on the right hash. So the left hash, they were up, they're going, read their card and the play. As they were reading their card and running the play, the offensive group that was on the right hash was also reading their card, reading their play, and the receivers, the skill guys were kind of already getting lined up and set up and ready to go. So as soon as we got done with that one play on the left hash, blew the whistle, and that offense on the right hash was already lined up, set, and ready to go. And then they were almost just kind of waiting for us to get lined up for that next snap. So just bouncing back and forth, left hash, right hash, left hash, right hash. So we went through a full 8-play set just like that. In terms of the play, I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to have some real extravagant, plays and that sort of thing. It's really easy to be able to do that with, okay, here's, kind of an RPO play where, hey, it's a run play and also a pass play at the same time. So they can kind of run the same card 2 times in a row from one hash. And then, like I said, okay, we're going to give it this time, we're going to throw it this time. So then that way, like I said, the scout guys can also kind of play fast and confident and knowing they're kind of doing the same thing for multiple times. So like I said, that's what we did on Tuesday. It's to really emphasize, okay, line that thing up and click off those plays at a fast rate. So that was good. That was a challenge. And really, I mean, like I said, our scout guys did an excellent job of rising to that challenge and almost to the point where it was almost so fast that it was, unrealistic almost. And that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted to present some chaos for our defensive guys to get lined up. We give them a call and they've got to check it, communicate it, get everybody lined up and ready for that play. So and we weren't, blowing the whistle, though, hey, hold on, we got to get the check and all that kind of stuff. It was, hey, we're lining up in it and we're running it. So you get ready and go play. The other thing that we did too, just from a kind of a conditioning standpoint on Tuesday, is we actually did a double whistle call as well. So not during the double huddle. There's enough, running around and all that kind of stuff going on in the double huddle, which I can tell you with that, your boundary corner and your backside, your little linebacker, they have a lot of running in between plays if you're bouncing left and right hash. But we had another period where, team run period, where we double whistled it. So for the same emphasis, hey, we're playing football here, we're rolling, but 2 whistles. Okay. So the first whistle, when we approach and if we're going to front them up or tag them off, whichever way we do it, is going to be the first whistle. So then at that point, the offense can kind of stop, and then everybody else, if it's a D lineman, they're engaged and they're trying to disengage from a block, whatever it may be. When they hear that first whistle, they know, okay, the ball's gone, and they are pursuing. They are running as fast as they can. So the first whistle tells everybody, okay, hey, ball's out, let's go. And everybody on our defense is collectively sprinting and taking a great angle and pursuing to the football until they hear the second whistle. So that, like I said, kind of helps build in some urgency into just our pursuits. And like I said, in terms of the conditioning and being able to play fast and then coming back and lining up and ready to go for the next play too was really beneficial to our guys in that as well. It's just a really good, way to be able to drill pursuit without having a totally separate pursuit drill going. Like, you can kind of really emphasize the pursuit, not just on, okay, that's one play, blow the whistle, we're good. Obviously that needs to show up no matter what, but the double whistle really shows, okay, here's the angle that you're taking. We got to sprint, we got to run, we got to have each other's backs out there. So that double whistle was really beneficial on that Tuesday period as well, just to get the guys in shape and really get them to really understand how important that is to be able to run to the football. So that was something that we did on Tuesday to really emphasize that. We also did an attack tempo period, just with our offense. So it was just good on good as ones versus ones, twos versus twos, and we're just running our stuff. Our offense is running their stuff, and we're just going fast. And with that attack tempo period, it's not just, hey, play the result. It's no matter what happens. Maybe the offense ran the ball, they got a 2-yard gain. No matter what, we're moving the ball up 10 yards. We're putting it on a different hash, all that kind of stuff, just to really emphasize that tempo and build in conditioning into playing football. Not, lining up and running, gassers or anything like that, but using the game to condition us in the right ways. So on Tuesday, like I said, that was kind of our emphasis in terms of just practice and some of the stuff that we were drilling. So Wednesday, our emphasis there, okay, so we did an attack tempo, the exact same thing on Wednesday at the end of practice. And then from there, we went right into a walkthrough period. Okay, so the walkthrough period, it's more of a run through. The D line still needs to get a takeoff and eyes and hands the right spot. Everybody's got to be disciplined in terms of where their eyes are, how they're going to key and react to each play. But even that walkthrough period, that remains the same. So the walkthrough period we did that emphasized kind of some of that tempo aspect of it is same thing. We had 2 scout offenses going at once. So this time, the way we organized it is we had one offense on the right hash, okay, and then right behind them, we had the other offense on that same hash. So then for them, it's right hash, left hash, but for us, we're just staying on the same hash. So we're just, instead of going left and right hash back and forth facing the same direction, they walked through a play one direction, turned around right behind them, and we already had that offense lined up in a formation, set, ready to go. So same thing, we weren't, flying around and pursuing and all that kind of stuff, but more so we gave them a call, line up, okay, walk through the play, blow the whistle. Once we blew the whistle, turn around, all right, get lined up as fast as we can, and then communicate the check. So that was a really good drill that we did to emphasize, okay, hey, get lined up, communicate the checks, and make sure we're right and on the same page. So the other thing that we did in that period too is we mixed up, we had some, personnel changes as well, some kind of sub packages as well. So just, that was a great time for us to be able to practice, hey, whatever, package we're in, yell it out, hustle in, echo the call, hustle out, and just getting on the same page that way too. So, so even like I said, it wasn't a full scale run around all over the place, all that kind of stuff, but it was more so even a walkthrough period where we're still emphasizing fast play, communicating, getting all on the same page. So that was, like I said, a really beneficial thing that we did on Wednesday to help emphasize that. And the other wrinkle that we threw into that, like I said, we did an attack tempo period at the end of that practice. So as soon as the ones versus the ones got done, they're kind of tired, right? They're kind of gassed from actually performing an attack tempo with our offense and actually running the plays and running fast to the ball and all that stuff. So we kind of used that, like, okay, they got a little tired. Now we're going to run plays. It's not going to be the same, tempo. It's going to be a walkthrough tempo, but now they have to communicate, get lined up fast while they're, like I said, kind of breathing hard and maybe a little bit gassed that way too. So really implementing that into the fold there on Wednesday was good for us. And then, Thursday was, hey, just we're playing fast on Thursday. So it was just, more or less to say one day, okay, put all that together. That should still be our standard, our expectation in terms of, lining up fast, getting the call, getting ready to go. And, it's just say, okay, and then put it all together on Thursday and flew around and look great. Guys were, like I said, moving around fast and run fast, get lined up and, having a sense of urgency to communicate the call and get everybody on the same page. We just ended practice with a 2-minute drill with our offense, a true 2-minute drill, like, end of the half, end of the game scenario. And that obviously in itself has kind of a tempo aspect of it there too. So overall, those were kind of some of the things that we really emphasized within practice in terms of some different ways to be able to do something similar that we already kind of do, but just really adding in that extra element of going fast, communicating, getting on the same page, pursuing to the football. All of that really kind of cranked up last week for us.
Yeah, some great stuff, great tips on how you face a tempo offense. It's always a challenge to do those kinds of things. So I appreciate you sharing those ideas with us, Coach. Congratulations again on being named our defensive coordinator of the week, and best of luck to you and the Knights the rest of the way here in 2024.
All right. Thanks, Keith. I really appreciate it.
Logan, what I love about all the coaches that we've had on here the first couple weeks is all of them talk about their staff. And with our last award, the head coach of the week, we always make sure that it's head coach and staff of the week. So who do we have for our recognition of this award this week?
This week goes to Peter Gallagher at Ursinus. Ursinus won 58-14 against Rowan. Rowan had been off to a hot start of their own this year, started 2-0, but Ursinus completely took control of that game midway through the second quarter. It was off to a slow start, but then starting in that second quarter, Ursinus scored 6 straight touchdowns while only allowing 1 first down over the next quarter and a half to run away with the game. They had some great performances on offense. They outgained Rowan 599 yards to 112. They did that on over 450 yards rushing. And then defensively, they were causing problems in the backfield all day. They had 5 sacks, 10 total tackles for loss, and that includes an outstanding individual performance by Connor Carter, who had 3 sacks, a safety, and a pass breakup. So this was a great performance from Ursinus, both phases of the game, and they get the coaching staff of the week.
Great collective effort. Let's hear from head coach Peter Gallagher. Going to recognize our head coach of the week and certainly his staff as well, which is part of this award. We really take collective effort as we look at all of these things. And that's the head coach at Ursinus, Peter Gallagher. Coach, first of all, congratulations on the recognition of being named our coach of the week, and congratulations on a great season this far.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Keith, and look forward to sharing a little bit about Ursinus and our brand here with you.
Definitely. And Coach, before we get into some of the ideas we're going to talk about, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to recognize those guys that are on your staff. Obviously, we work hard together. We can't do it without the other members of our team. I want to make sure we recognize those guys as well.
Yeah, well, I have an awesome staff. I tell a lot of people, like, these are good friends, and it's okay to be friends and be a boss. And Rob Quigley, our associate head coach, been here 22 years with me, coaching our offensive line. Steve Devlin's been here 7 or 8 years now, had as our associate head coach and defensive coordinator. One of the best runs as a high school head coach here at Archbishop Wood in the greater Philadelphia area. Just done an amazing job coaching our defense, recruiting kids here. Love having guys that I coached on staff We have 4 of them. One is our offensive coordinator, just a bright, young mind, dynamic play caller in Jeff Endy. And then we actually have 4 other alums. Mitch Bradford was an all-conference defensive back here. Kyle Atkins was an all-conference defensive back here. Brett Gross was a recent grad last year, which was a first-team all-conference kid. Ryan Bedolis, coaching our defensive line, was an All-American for us last year, AFCA first-team All-American, and won. He's probably one of the most decorated players to come through here. And a couple of other guys, Chris Lampard, Dave Latier, Aaron Brady, just all guys that really can work well together and get our kids going in the right direction, and very cohesive to work with as a staff, which, if you've been in this profession long enough, some staff that you've been on have not been cohesive. And I think that to have that cohesion here and the ability to work with each other has been a lot of fun. You want to come to work, right? Just like your players want to come to practice. You want to be in an environment that you can achieve. You want to make sure you set that up.
Because before we got going, you were telling me about the process that you put together, that you don't talk a lot about winning, that you want to build the process of a winner. We'd love to hear that philosophy and how you go about developing the habits that go along with that.
I think, being here now, going into my 24th year at Ursinus, the national leading liberal arts college, it's not all about winning. It is about the process of being a winner, developing those habits, right, that are going to serve you for the rest of your life, right? And responsibility, respect, developing the ability to confront your peers without being confrontational. So much of the liberal arts and the country right now, right? That's not going so well for the country. You need to be able to develop those skills better, but that's not an easy skill to have, right? You need to be humble. You need to be able to listen, and teaching young men like 18 to 22-year-olds that to listen sometimes and respect is challenging, right? Like going to class, turning your best work on time. Basically just teaching these kids what it means to be a good human being and how we should all conduct our business on a daily basis. And if we can get those characteristics taught, which we have, winning takes care of itself.
Coach, I think back to my time as a player. How were players motivated? I mean, coaches yelling, screaming, spit flying out of their mouth, grabbing face masks, all those kinds of things. I mean, you were motivated a little bit by fear. You didn't want to get certain coaches angry, but that's not an approach you guys are taking. You look at the opposite of that. We'd love to hear you talk about the way you guys look at motivating players today. Yeah, well,
we motivate our kids through love and appreciation, not anger and fear. And we love our kids. We want our kids, the journey is the reward, right? Like we want our kids, you get to, not you have to, right? Our kids get to go to the weight room. Our kids get to come to practice. Our kids get to be a part of this tradition here at Ursinus. And I think when you can get a large group of young men all wanting to do something for each other, you're going to have, oh boy, I don't want to see this coach today, or I don't want to see that coach today. No, we want our kids slapping fives with us, talking about their day, talking about their lives, and sharing their lives experiences with us. And during stretch lines, or when we're going to team meetings or positional meetings, and building that culture where you feel comfortable and you want to achieve, right? We want to foster an environment that creates student achievement, that gives our kids a platform to be able to be themselves and to go out and achieve. We talk a lot about competitive excellence, which we define as one's ability to raise the level of commitment of your peer. That's not, and if you can get to that, you can get to a really, really high level. And we've been doing a commitment exercise with our guys for years now, and trying to, talk, and, it starts with like detached compliance, and it goes to enthusiastic cooperation, and then it goes to heartfelt commitment, and then it goes to competitive excellence. And I would say most of the people, have enthusiastic cooperation. Kids are going, they're showing up, they're doing the things that you get some of those group into heartfelt commitment. that you need to do that. You need to have competitive excellence, which, is the same ability like we're talking about through love and appreciation, not anger and fear. We don't need, leadership isn't about having the enforcers, right? Like the guy back in the day you were kind of talking about, grabbing the face mask and spitting and all that. We need kids like, hey, come with me. Come with me. I'm lifting in the 9 o'clock group. Come with me to the 9 o'clock group, man. We're going to go get after it. We're going to have a bunch of fun. We're going to go in there. We're going to play some music, and we're going to get a great lift in. And hey, let's go. Not, where were you at the 9 o'clock lift, you jerk, right? Like, that's not going to motivate anybody. So trying to get our kids, and it doesn't always have to be upper class, but most of the time it is. And it's not usually a lot of guys that can have competitive excellence. But if you get a solid group of kids on your roster that have competitive excellence, that can pull that group, which is usually fairly large, from enthusiastic cooperation into heartfelt commitment, like the group below enthusiastic cooperation, like detached compliance, they're going to make a decision. They're going to either get on or get off. And that's what we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach our kids and empower our kids to have some lateral leadership and to be able to empower them to really take charge of their team. There is no better tool than peer pressure. And a lot of times when you think of peer pressure, you think of bad things like do this or do that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about come with me because we're going to be great. And being able to illustrate that picture to your peer is really, really powerful stuff. And that's the basis of how we're motivating our program. That's the basis of the Ursinus football brand.
We talked about your coaches a little bit here. You mentioned those guys. But there's certainly an approach there, too, that, I think the one thing I really like about, D3 football is there is a certain lifestyle to it. There is, I guess, a certain sense of sanity in the way we're able to work hard as coaches and get into the details of the game, yet at the same time have other things in our lives. And I know, for you, a lot was learned from the pandemic and being able to see like, hey, there's some different ways we could do this.
Well, right. Let's get one thing straight. Division 3 can be just as insane as any the other divisions, right? Like, you can sit here and work every day, all day. And boy, I remember I got the job here. I was 29 years old. We worked around the clock, and we were not a very good football team. And like, okay, you got to get some players in here. You got to get a thing going. But the thought that you have to guard your desk and you have to sit here and the more you grind, the better you're going to be is just false. And I don't care if you're wherever you are, a Division 1, 2, 3, like there's a process. Make sure you have your process. Make sure okay, Monday you're doing this, Tuesday you're doing that, and you got to have those things done in a timely manner, right? Because it's a time commitment thing. You got to have practice ready. You got to your scout cards. You got to do all those things. But we stopped coming back in as the staff after practice and uploading the film and sitting around here till 10 o'clock at night watching film, getting home at 10:30, getting to maybe eating a bunch of bad food late and waking up feeling like crap and getting back in the office the next morning at 7:45 or whatever, and grinding all the way through the day. By week 7 or 8, by week 5 or 6, you're a zombie. You just can't do it, right? Like, the other thing too, and one of my mentors was my position coach, Herb Hand. He's the offensive line coach down in Central Florida. We were talking back and forth. They had a big win. I fell asleep in my chair. They were losing. I woke up. They were winning. And I was texting back and forth with them as I was grading tape on my patio on Sunday. Like we don't need to bring our kids in. We used to bring our kids in for 10 hours on a Sunday. Our staff would be here on a Sunday for 10 hours. Like, it just doesn't need to be that way. We start our mornings at 6:30 on Monday morning. We give our kids, a lot of our kids are local, right? So they're going to watch the Eagles play, or they're going to be with their families, or they're doing something. And we have just cut the amount of time that we've asked our kids to actually give physical and mental effort throughout the week. And we've really, really seen the benefit of that from coaches being more energetic, our kids being more energetic, like, not running our kids on Fridays and pregame. We don't practice Monday. We prepare 6 hours a week for our game. Our walkthrough on Friday is about 20 minutes. And so if you want to say, well, we'll take 6 hours and 20 minutes of actual field time to prepare our game for an opponent. So since we've made some of those changes, we've gotten better and better. So, it worked for me, and I think it works for our coaches and works for our players. So then we're going to continue to keep that approach going.
Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time during the week here and sharing about your program and your approach to this. Again, congratulations to you and your staff, and the best of luck to you and the Bears the rest of the season.
I appreciate you having me on, Keith. Good luck to you, and I appreciate you covering Division III football.
Logan, another outstanding week of D3 football. Definitely looking forward to this weekend and seeing who shakes out at some of our best performances and best coaching jobs this week.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited too. We've got a bunch of big games this week in D3, but like I said at the beginning of the podcast, these coaching grades, we're not just trying to look for the biggest games of the week and top 25 teams. The outstanding performances can come from anywhere when you've got 240 teams in Division III. So there's always something new, always some great performances, and some great coaching in the division.
Thank you for listening to the Coach and Coordinator podcast. Be sure to support our sponsors for your fundraising needs. Vertical Raise. Use their online platform to elevate your team's fundraising to new heights. Modern football technology allows you to make decisions at the speed of the game. Check out what they can do for your workflow, game planning, and play calling on game day. And when you win the championship this year, be sure to contact Signature Championship Rings to commemorate the season with championship rings. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.